What's up, everybody? How's it going? Crypto Sloth back at you again. It's been a little bit since I've been live, but I have a special treat for you guys today. We got a great guest. I'm sure you have all seen it from the thumbnail, but we have this guy who's been blowing up in the Hexacosa Hedron sphere of the crypto world, and I am very happy to have him on to learn little bit more about himself. I've been enjoying his videos. I know you guys all have. So let's give a nice welcome to Maxim Broadcast. What's up, buddy? How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. Very glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. I think this is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a great time. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on my channel and talk. I know you like the, pre-recorded format, get to edit your videos and stuff. So it's cool to have you on stream and get a little piece of you live.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my videos are one takes. I don't edit them.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it's the time I can commit,
Yeah.
We'll see if I'll start editing, but so far they're all one takes, at least all the Hedron Icosa stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but this is first time live for me, so this is fun. Yeah. This is an experience right here.
Yeah, that's right, everybody. You're getting it Maxim Broadcast live for the first time here on the Crypto Sloth channel.
Yep.
But yeah, let's say a little bit of hi to people in the chat. It's good to see you guys. RV, Cypher, Kim, Broke Boy, Hex Spartan, good to see you. Everybody else in the chat, Junior, good to see you again. I'm glad you're here. Please just enjoy the show. This is just going to be a nice casual conversation. Learn a little bit about Maxim, kind of who he is, what brought him to this the space, and we'll just see where it goes. Probably chat for a good 45 minutes to an hour. All right, Maxim. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Like who are you? Maybe even dabble into how you got into crypto a little bit too.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I grew up in a really small town, was a farm kid, homeschooled until high school. So I had a very secluded original life. And a lot of manual labor in the mix. And I ended up going to university, working there in IT for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And in the process, I wanted to learn to trade. And this was in 2015. And I found out that I could trade Bitcoin at the time for free. There was no trading costs associated with it if I did limit orders. And so I got into Bitcoin in 2015 and I sold it all in 2016 because I wanted a truck. And I was like, well, this truck's going to have an interest rate. I'm not a good trader. I'll just pay less of an interest rate on this truck and have that as a constant known and sell my Bitcoin. Because I wasn't hooked on the Bitcoin or crypto idea. I was just trying to trade.
Yeah.
And then again in 2017, I kind of got back into it at the very end of 2016, early 2017. And I bought Ethereum at around $8. And I was still a trader. And I sold it all at $32. And shortly after that.
Not a bad multiple, at the very least.
That's what I thought. I was like, man, how greedy do I have to be to keep holding on to this? And but in a very short period of time, a couple months, I really started to get onto the idea of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, I think I'm not in this to learn to trade anymore. I'm in this for more of the fundamentals of what I see in cryptocurrency, period. And so I ended up getting back into Ethereum and pretty much have held it, except for this little token called Hex. And I was following Richard Hart before Hex existed, and he started talking about this Bitcoin Hex thing.
Yeah.
And there was tons of FUD, not necessarily that different from now. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to look into it all and just, think for myself as best as I could, and really was paying attention to the FUD. Like, who are these intelligent people talking bad about Hex? What's the reasons that Hex is such a terrible thing? And I was basically seeing misinformation, ignorance, or like there's potential some truth in here, but overall I was like, I don't know if this Hex thing is going to work, but it looks original. And I was really excited to see. I want to see how this thing plays out because I haven't seen this type of game theory before, and it's extremely interesting to me. And so I gave up some Ethereum, and at the time, to get into the adoption amplifier, at the time I think Ethereum wasn't even $100.
Yeah.
And so I was was kind of a bear market thing, and I was putting some in, and I was just asking myself, how much resources do I have, and how much do I believe in this thing? And at the time, it felt like I was giving so much money to it, but I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I thought that was a lot of money. And it really did well. But the beginning of Hex, the price was going down, and I saw that as opportunity because I got in on the first day. A lot of people did. And when I did that, I was like, and I saw the second and third and fourth days, it's like, wow, maybe I was a fool for getting it on this first day. But the price kept going down, and I was like, wow, for a little bit more Ethereum, I can kind of make up for that first day. And I'm sure if this is going to take off, the first day is probably not going to be the highest day at all. And so I just kept buying, and my average cost over time was really good. And I had a couple friends that were at least aware of Richard Hart, and they were like, and I was telling them, have you heard of Hex? And they're like, yeah, it's really interesting. And I was like, yeah, I've got some. And I was like, it's up 50x or whatever. And they're like, oh, sell it all. Sell it now. When are you going to sell? And I was like, I can't sell yet. I can't do it. I think there's something here. And if this is going to be a great idea, I don't think we've seen the end of it yet. And that ended up being a pretty good decision to hold on to Hex. And really, I don't sell very much. I do personally believe in selling. But being very cautious and very thoughtful in the process. I posted a video yesterday talking about how you just look at who are the people that have made the most money in the crypto space. What are the actions that they've taken? I think I should at least consider the most successful people in my own actions. And they tend to be holders. They tend to get in on projects early and hold. And I love the simplicity of that. Like I'm maybe not the most intelligent person, but I can copy that. And then the focus becomes, what are these cool new projects? And how can I get in early in a meaningful way? And it's important for me too to believe in the project, because if you want to hold, if that's one of the values you have, is holding over time, is what brings, it's one of the things that separates you from other people. Holding over time, you have to believe in the project or you're going to get scared. Especially if you're going to stake for long periods of time or something like that. You're really deciding today that you are going to hold, and you want to be able to sleep at night. That all comes from, a lot of it comes from just believing that this is something pretty cool. And of course, I think everyone should always accept the good and the bad before they enter. Like if this doesn't go well, because you don't know, no one knows what's going to happen. I just believe that so confidently. There's always, even if you're 99% sure, there's still a 1% chance. Make sure that if that 1% happens, you won't look back and regret whatever your decision was, because it could be you'll regret not putting more in too. And but it can go both ways. And so that's really been my approach. And then Hedron comes out, and of course, of getting Hedron for free, I think it's a cool idea. I really wanted to watch it. Wasn't overly excited about Hedron until Icosa came out. And I saw an opportunity to have a chance of being a relatively large holder of Icosa. And I saw the opportunity, the potential for Icosa to plug some holes, or I guess address some of my concerns with Hedron itself. And it's kind of the same thing. What can I do now to take advantage of this potential opportunity? And I was telling people before Icosa came out that this project is coming. There's probably going to be an advantage for getting in early. And we're still early today, but just getting in on the first day, if there's anyone that listened, so far huge. Looks like a good decision. And so that's what I did. I went in on it, gave up some of my Hex for it. And right now I don't regret it. I think it's been really fun to watch. It's been really fun to just share with, my YouTube channel and what's happening. And I'm really looking forward to continuing that process. But I've also, of course, really appreciated you. I found you right off the bat. You're one of the first people that I was like, okay, cool. This guy's really crunching numbers, and that's so useful. I
appreciate that. Yeah.
And you've probably seen, I don't know, but I was referring people to you.
I think I saw some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like, this you're one of the people that is actually getting in there, crunching numbers. And I like crunching numbers. There's a part of me that appeals to, but I consider myself a more like I don't know, philosophy is the right word, but like I big picture focused. I don't spend a ton of time getting down to the little nitty gritty, but there's a need for that. And I
Yeah.
didn't want people to come to me for that. I didn't want to fulfill that role. I would
Mhm.
love to direct people back to you and some other great people in the space to fill that need very well. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
been fun.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you've been doing great, and you definitely post very useful and informative content that I've for sure learned from. And I really like that. I like that progression. It's kind of like the quintessential hexagon progression from pre-hex. You came into crypto because like I want to make some money and I want to trade, right? And like for you, you won. Like you went from $8 Ethereum to $32. Like that kind of trade is like a career making trade in a lot of ways. Like
Yeah,
you did like what is
absolutely.
it 4x, but then you
Yeah,
realize part of the way through is like I won, but there's bigger ways to win. Like in this
yeah,
crypto
one,
game, you can win
yeah.
more than what you
Oh
already
yeah.
did.
Yep.
And then that rabbit hole going like the fundamentals like decentralization, trustlessness, kind of like what like the blockchain means from like a philosophical level. You
Yes.
get that confidence, and you're like, okay, I see what's actually going on here, or at least I have a bigger picture. Let me see if I can find something that will facilitate the outlook that I have on this whole system. And then of course, right at that time, you find Richard Hart and Hex, where it's like
Yes.
the underlying mechanics of it is literally the strategy that you identified for the real winners in the community. It's like buying something and not selling it. And then
Right.
you get yield on top of performing the behavior that allows you to win long term.
Yeah, man.
And then and I think that's really I like that progression as a whole, because I think it's like the perfect archetype of like the
Yeah.
progression from like from like a no coiner to like all the way to a hexagon from the beginning, man. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. And like to see that you're like now getting into these derivative products of like Hedron and Icosa, at least to me, like seeing the way in which Hedron and Icosa are built, like it speaks to the fundamental like strength of Hex on its own, because like without Hex as the engine to fuel these two other coins that are now like circulating around it, like they just simply wouldn't exist.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I try to talk to that a little bit too. Like I think it's important for people to realize that it's going to be pretty hard for Hedron and Icosa if Hex itself doesn't do well. Like
Yep.
Hedron is kind of based on the core assumption that Hex is something pretty great.
Yep.
And it's I think it's the truth. I don't see contradiction there. And I see people have said this in a number of different ways, but I see projects built on projects. The tendency is that that's going to be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're bringing in more focus and more reasons and more optionality to this cool thing that already exists. I think it's going to add to the whole system. And I think right now, I think Hedron and Icosa are just two of those things that are adding value to Hex. And I'm really, really excited to watch all of this over time and see like
Mm-hmm.
what's the up and downs that we know we're going to have in the
Yeah.
process. What do those come from? And how is this whole thing going to really work out? What is it going to look like in a couple of years from now?
Yeah, I,
But
I, I agree. And I feel kind of lucky because I wasn't around in Hex in those early days, like Bitcoin Hex. And like when like the 4 more weeks meme, when the genesis
yes,
of that, I wasn't there for that. But like, my early days in like the Hedron Telegram group, and even like now when I Costa, like it kind of feels like I'm getting like that experience of what it's like to watch this whole new coin and the community associated around it to like to form. And like you were saying, like what's going to happen, like we don't know, but it's going to be really fun to watch the dynamics play out, the mechanics play out, the psychology of the market and how it behaves. Like even now seeing a thing do like what a 15-16x in like 70 days in the
yeah,
midst of just macro blood everywhere, like it's
right.
crazy to be in the middle of that.
No, I love that this is launching in a bear market.
Yeah.
It's like it's should be very good for the few people that are paying attention right now. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of fear. I've talked about this on my channel too. There's a lot of fear, and the feeling is to let's go find some security somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I watched this video. I liked it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think really what there's so much potential in finding those. This is what this Carter Thomas guy that I follow says, those risky alphas, those
Hmm.
good coins. I mean, now is the time to be putting money in. And if while everything is down, because what do we have left? We have up. And I try to make this very clear. I don't know where the bottom is, but I know we're down a lot. And
Yeah.
I'm very intentional about trying to find good projects now. This is the hard time, but that you look back in the good times and are very thankful for. This is the time that for most people, they really made the decisions that brought them wealth later.
Hmm.
And these things happening in a bear market are really important, I think, to pay attention to. And I think it's also great that Hex in a bear market is having focus put on it. People are innovating. They care
Yeah.
about Hex enough while things are down to still be creating, being original, and adding value while things are in a bear market. And I think that that's only speaking again to something special about Hex. I don't think, as long as that's happening, when things are bad and there's still attention and improvement giving to something, you just have the upside left. I mean,
Hmm.
I think it's a very good sign
Yeah.
for Hex itself.
It's those you're looking for, those like asymmetrical returns, right? It was like, yeah,
Yes,
we're down 90%, and like you're absolutely right. I don't know where the bottom is either. We could have another 50% drop to go, right?
totally.
But
Yeah.
long term, especially if you DCA your way down to that 50% drop in the bottom, like just going back to all-time highs from where we're at now, that's a little over 10x. And you've taken a lot of risk off the table because you didn't buy at the top, and now that the price has
Yep.
already done that major dip that you see over and over in crypto. And so
Yep.
like I agree with that thesis that you had for that video, where it's like, now is not the time to find the safety unless for some reason you need the capital for your day-to-day life. Like if that's
Yes.
like, that needs to be safe, and that you need to be able to pay your
Right.
bills, function,
Yes.
eat, etc. But for
Mm-hmm.
the speculative money, the money you're trying to grow and to accelerate the velocity by which it's increasing, now is the time to take the risk, because the
Yep.
downside has pretty much already happened. The worst downside has already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You're trying to work for your future self. What are those things that you can do now that yourself in a few years will really be so much better off for? And I think
Yep.
there's just so much of life that makes life worth living is you need to hope for something better tomorrow. Be
Mm-hmm.
working for those things. It makes life worth living to be
Yep.
at least trying to take the steps that are bringing this good future to yourself, and you can hope for it. And there's always risk. There's always
Mm-hmm.
beliefs that get tested through hard times, and it's not a guarantee. That's part of the fun, is you don't
Yeah.
really know. I don't really know, but based off of the confidence in the worldview that I have, I'm going to make the best bets and to
Yeah.
take the best actions I can. What else can I do? And
Exactly. And if there wasn't a chance for it to fail, the upside just wouldn't be there. Like that's why it's risky, right? Like
everyone would
that.
be in it. It would already represent that. And it's the, I don't know, it's part of what gives you the opportunity right now, is
Mhm.
that not everyone is convinced of this thing. Not everyone knows about it. That's when you want to get in.
That's where the opportunity is. I think Richard Hart
Yes.
says the same thing. When was the best time to buy? When the coins were inflating the most and it was the hardest to obtain, right?
Yes.
And so like, the more barriers there are, the less people that are in, the more
Yep.
barriers there are, maybe unintuitively is actually the best time to get in, because that's where the
Yep.
growth and opportunity happens to be. Because to get price
Yep.
appreciation, you need new capital to come in. So if you want to
Yes.
get that price appreciation, you have to get in before the new capital comes in.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, no, I think all of that's really great, and I want to shift a little bit, talk about your YouTube channel, because I was going through it for a bit, and like you have a pretty long history of like YouTube stuff, a lot of fitness stuff. So I can't remember off the top of my head other stuff, but tell us a little bit about like what got you into like wanting to do YouTube, your original like goals for it, and then how you switched over to crypto content.
Yeah. So YouTube was a complete experiment for me.
Mhm.
Like almost all of my old videos, I am completely not proud of. All I was doing was I'm already doing this thing anyway.
Mhm.
I'm fixing my wife's Honda Accord. Well, I'll just show people how to do it. So one of my most watched videos, I think, is one of them is how to clean out your USB-C port on your phone. You know, it's like I'm doing
Yeah.
this, like it annoys me. I'll just post a video, and it was just like, let's just see what happens. And it
Mhm.
was kind of like, let's just see, is posting on YouTube, what do I think of it? Is it worth my time? And then I posted like philosophy videos. I posted lifting videos because for a period of time I was completely obsessed with lifting, and
Mhm.
that was a pretty big part of my life. And I really did feel like I had potential value, but how do I post it? How will people receive it? And so
Mhm.
I just tried everything, and I kind of stopped. Every once in a while I would post something, but I was really just thinking in the back of my head, is YouTube worth it? And I basically recently decided I'm going to give this a real go.
Mhm.
And I think Icosa was like one of those niche things that I cared about. I was spending time on. I didn't
Mhm.
have a ton of competition. There's people that want to understand this, and there's not a ton of information out there. This could be a cool way to authentically grow my channel because I'm very interested in it, and I think I can provide value by focusing on this. And um, yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But so far, you know, it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, I think my recent videos, I think I've matured a little bit from the early videos, just in my own mindset of what I
Mhm.
actually want my channel to be. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I do have a long history. You can learn how to clean out your washing machine filters and all kinds of
Yeah.
random stuff.
Well, I really I like that kind of I like that kind of style of YouTube video because there's a funny thing where it's like sometimes those videos where it's like how to clean out your USB-C port or like how to change your oil, like how to like change the filter in
Yeah,
your like dryer, like those like
yeah,
can blow up because people are literally like, how do I do this? And then you get a
exactly.
bunch of,
Well, that's what
it
I found
works.
out. Like the videos that I liked were the
Mhm.
philosophy videos, but no one watched those. They all
Yeah.
watched the. I just need to know. But that's just what I use YouTube for completely. It's like I look up how to do whatever random thing and find it is so useful. But it was just funny watching that. Um, but uh, but yeah. So
Yeah, man. Um, I was going somewhere with that. Hold on. But here it is. So actually, my kind of motivation for doing YouTube is pretty much the same thing. Like, I've been spending so much time in crypto. Like, I've been in it for about a little over a year now. I got in May of last year, and I've just been spending so much time learning and like thinking about it, coming up with ideas. And I was like, I feel like I just want to publish this stuff, like as a medium to organize my thoughts and
yes,
to facilitate the learning process and the
yep,
understanding process. Publishing your work, I think, is a really great way to do that. And then
yeah,
there's this byproduct of the off chance that you may build a community, and it can be kind of like an entrepreneurial
yeah,
endeavor as well. Um,
absolutely,
yeah, and that's that's
yeah,
that's and yeah, I was I wasn't doing it for a while because like I think in general like the Hex ecosystem, like influencer sphere, is pretty bloated in a way, and that most of the conversation that needs to be had about Hex to like elucidate its mechanisms, its value prop, has
yep,
been had. There really
yep,
doesn't. You're not really. It's not that you're not adding much, but like to me, it's not interesting to rehash an old conversation if I can't
yes,
add anything new.
I agree.
And then when Hedron came around and I was in the Telegram and I was just like going like full on like intellectual, like trying to understand it, thinking through it, like
Yeah,
staying up at night trying to like think through all the mechanics. And I'm like, I got it. Here's the thing I can finally talk about and publish it. And like
yep,
I've been fortunate enough where it's like it's worked out pretty well.
yeah.
But yeah, we're in the same boat, man, with that. It's just
I think we are.
an outlet for intellectual curiosity. And then, we're
Yes.
lucky enough to have people who, for some reason, enjoy the things we have to say.
Yeah. Well, I got to ask you because you
Yeah.
used the word archetypes, and there's a number of vocabulary that I
Yeah.
think is a relatively unusual. What is your? I got to know what your background is, or I'm curious what you're studying because you said you have school,
Mhm.
and where is this coming from for you?
Yeah, man. So I'm a dental student.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm starting to be a dentist right now. And then my undergraduate degree was in biology. After I got my degree there, I did a year teaching high school biology, and then I spent 2 years doing research at the National Institute on Drug Abuse. So I was doing like
Wow.
neurobiology and neuroscience research. But
Very
like
cool.
I've always had a big interest in like philosophy, epistemology
I can tell.
specifically. Yeah, yeah,
I can
man.
tell
And so
because
like that's
yeah,
been like, yeah.
some of the first stuff I was watching of you. I was like, whoa. like you stood out because so I don't know, I think we have similar interests in it, like
I think so too.
just the way you're approaching topics, and like I said, some of the vocabulary you use isn't particularly common, and it suggests some kind of background. And yeah, anyway, okay, that makes a little bit
Yeah.
more sense. Have you, I just got to ask this, have you heard of, I'm sure you have, Carl Jung?
Oh, of course, yeah. Dude,
Okay,
Jordan Peterson has influenced my thinking a lot, and of course,
right
by
on.
watching him, you get exposed to Carl Jung. Like,
Exactly. Okay, right on. I love it. I love it.
yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Cool.
But yeah. I mean that I took a couple philosophy classes in college, and those influenced my thinking a lot, especially like the logic and reasoning classes, like
Yes.
my ability to like form a syllogism, like breaking an argument into premises and conclusions, and then tinkering it with it. There kind of came from that class. But I've just spent like so much time on YouTube just digesting content, like philosophy, psychology. I was very like into like the atheist Christian debate for a while. I followed that really closely for a long time, from like the early like Sam Harris days, Christopher Hitchens, you know, the Four Horsemen. So we were probably around in the same watching the same videos around the same time,
so.
like 2012, 2013. And then like 2016, 2017 was a crazy year for YouTube content. Like around that election, and like where like the political discourse was, like we saw a lot of like the postmodern critical theory. A lot of like that philosophy was beginning to take root in the public consciousness and the public conversation. And so I learned a lot about argument and debate from listening to all the contentions that were happening on the public stage, but within like specific YouTubers just like hashing it out. So that's like hours of it. I don't have any like formal education, and I kind of wish I read more books like specifically, but you know,
I think you can. Yeah, I think you can learn so much, and in some ways, I think people refer to books, but I think that's a lot of times because that's what people have only had through history. If you wanted to learn, you couldn't go up to that particular philosopher and talk to him. You had to read his book. But now you kind of can. And through YouTube and whatever, you can listen to them. And I think it's actually pretty productive. I just feel like I've learned so much, and I think my life is better off from books, but also just from listening to people. Like I think you're saying, just what interests you. They're usually a lot of times answering questions that I find meaning in. And like what else, like that's pretty great. I think YouTube, for example, you can actually learn a ton. I think it's sometimes undervalued.
No, absolutely. And it's like, you know, like you were saying before, if you wanted to learn from somebody and like their body of work, it was through a book. Like that was about it. But now you literally have those same intellectuals, public intellectuals, and like academics on podcasts, having their own YouTube channels, being guests on stuff. And so you can literally get the TLDR, the part of the content that you would have read, that the part you would have remembered long term, you get that in that hour segment. So it's like, then you can just go to the book and then learn all the ins and out of it if you really want to integrate that content into like your psyche.
Yes.
And I'm sure for you, you know, you said you were really deep into like lifting and stuff, and like trying to learn everything around that. And I know a lot of that kind of stems from like a self-help, motivation, self-improvement kind of body of work, which really overlaps with a lot of this like other deep philosophical stuff that we're talking about.
I think it does. Yeah,
for sure. Because it's like, you know, at the core of a lot of it is like taking the present moment, extrapolating it into the future. Like, what behaviors can I do now that will manifest some kind of potential in the future? Taking that potential, integrating it into your current psyche to drive that behavior to get there later on, right?
Exactly.
And like you find that theme within all of like self-help, motivation kind of content, but then you get that perspective on the academic side from like the Jordan Petersons, the Carl Jungs, you know, the Nietzsche's, all of that stuff. So it all like comes together in a really cool way.
I see it. Yeah, I see it that way. I don't know that many people do, because you think of the typical lifter, and they tend to be associated with really low IQs.
Yeah, that's a stereotype. And big meaty guy just in the gym.
Yeah, when I was lifting, like I'm over 6.5 feet tall. I'm not a small person, and especially, you know, they're not competition numbers, but you know, I was repping over 400 on the bench press and stuff, and people would assume, they had a stereotype of me and it was fun. I loved it. Like, because my day job was I worked in IT, and then I'd go to the gym and be the dumb gym guy. But really, a lot of it behind it is kind of what you're talking about. It was self-improvement, and I really have a strong desire for what really is true. What are those few things that really matter, and I want to act those out. And I don't know that they're often correlated together, but I really did see it kind of like the way that you just explained, I feel.
100%, man. Well, that's awesome. You know, we didn't talk super much beforehand, but it's nice to see that we have all these things in common. I see why I like your content a lot. It's awesome, man. Well, let's see. Well, let's transition a little bit into like icosahedron stuff. You know, I think
let's do it.
We hit a good broadcast, like get to know each other a little bit, get to know you a little bit more. But, you know, let's why we all know you, man. Like you've been broadcasting Hedron stuff, you've been broadcasting icosa stuff. So tell us a little bit about kind of what you've been posting, what kind of message you've been trying to get across with icosa.
Yeah,
we can start there.
Yeah, so I think, like I said, I saw icosa as potential opportunity, and I'm trying to think of the videos that I post. Like if there's people I care about, what would I want them to know, and correlate it to my own individuality. Like try to give some originality, kind of like you were saying with Hex. Some of these ideas have really been hashed out already. Icosa's new, but I want to bring my background into it, who I am, into the process, and do it as if it was to a friend, if it was to do it as if it was to someone that I actually wanted well for them, or I don't want to post. Like there's just certain simple things that I have to live with myself the rest of my life. If I'm going to do something, I have to be okay with it. So whatever I do, I feel like it doesn't mean that I know what I'm talking about, but my intentions are going to be try to be truthful, try to be honest, want well for the people involved. And I just figure if my YouTube channel does terrible or whatever, I can always live with myself if I know that was my intentions behind it. And I saw icosa as a potential opportunity. I'm like, there's this cool new project, not very many people know about it. If you're interested, if you watched my video, you knew about it, and you had at least the ability to act on it if you saw value there. And I don't regret that at all. And I just want to keep posting videos kind of from that similar mindset of, here's what I'm thinking, decide for yourself, and post it from I'm trying to help you, and this is who I am as an individual and what I'm thinking about it, trying to add originality using my own kind of original personality. I think we have similarities, but even the way we've approached it has been different. And that way we're adding something. We're not just copying and saying the same thing every time that we post. And it's been really satisfying for me to just a little bit I've been posting on icosa and Hedron and a little bit on Hex. And I'm hoping I can just keep it up. And there's another thought, by the way, that I had. There's a quote that goes something like, every man should have a son, plant a tree, and write a book. And it's basically I think it's a Jewish proverb or something. And it's basically like all those things last after you're dead. And I think there's some wisdom in that. And I think YouTube's one of those things that probably is going to exist after I'm dead. And if I can put content out there, try to, give whatever little wisdom I have back to the world, try to give value. And the idea that it can exist longer than me is pretty cool. And I have kids, and I think about, like, if something happened to me, what would they have from me? And I think of even my YouTube channel as a potential, well, they can go back and watch these. And I'm trying to keep that in the back of my head. If my own kids watch these videos, I want to be, wholesome, and what would I want them to know too? How would I want them to approach life? Even as something as niche and specific as icosa, I still take those values into. And anyway, that's some of my thoughts on my
I like that.
channel.
Now, let me ask you this: do your kids have fat Hedron bags right now?
Oh man, no, they I tell them about it. My oldest kid's 4 though, so
okay.
So he's like he asks to look at my phone, and he knows that if the charts green and going up, that's a good thing.
It just-
And so I'll show him and he'll be like, oh, it's up a
Well,
lot, or
Well,
it's down.
here's what you have to do. If it ever goes down, just flip the colors. And so, like, when it goes down,
There you
it's all of
go.
a sudden green.
Yeah,
And
turn
so
the phone around or something.
He's
Yeah.
happy either way.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. I like that. What's the word I'm looking for? That, I guess, foundation or like underlying philosophy for your channel, where you're not just it seems multi-layered, where like you're trying to provide value, as if like if you had friends, what would you want them to know in terms of opportunity? Provide a resource for them to digest that, but also you're thinking long term, where it's like, like what I'm building now is going to last for years and years to come. So I'm not just providing value today, but I'm also leaving my imprint on the world and portraying myself for future generations to potentially walk back.
Right.
So I like how you've like, bringing it back to what we were talking about before, but like one of the things Jordan Peterson has said that always resonated with me is like that line of behavior where it's like you're doing the best for you today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, 12 years from now, juxtaposed against the best thing for you, your family, your community, and the world. And the intersection of those two paradigms is like the ideal set of behavior. And like it seems like that kind of philosophy is what is motivating you to continue to produce content on YouTube.
It is. Yeah. I think truthfulness for myself is extremely important, because you don't want to be making decisions lying to yourself, and it's so easy to do. It's hard for people to even know themselves what they really think, and it's easy for me and people to lie to themselves, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want to lie to other people around me either. And my ability to even help people comes from resources. If I don't have time, if I don't have wisdom, I can't give that. So I need to be putting into myself also, and the people around me. And like you're saying, in a sense, there's the focus on yourself, which I think has a lot more parallels with the focus on others than sometimes people realize. I think like there's a selfishness that's extremely unselfish. Like the focus on yourself can be needed in order to even focus and help other people. And I think there's so much meaning in bettering yourself and having resources so that you can help others. Just from the little experience that I've had with it, is just gaining something, time, money, whatever, so that I can then give it out, is extremely rewarding. And I think the two can intersect, kind of like you're saying, very, very for real. And it's meaningful stuff, I think.
Hell yeah, man. And I think that's probably a large reason why you've seen so much success and why people have gravitated towards your content, not just because of the immediate value, but I think, at least subconsciously that what's the word I'm looking for? That philosophy is portrayed in the way that you produce your content. And I think at least, there are many different formulas for like algorithmic success on like YouTube and stuff. But I think one of the most powerful and profound ones is like that authenticity and genuineness that comes across through whatever you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like I've read a lot of sales books, and I feel like one of the core principles to me is believe in the product you're selling. Like you can spend a ton of time focusing on saying the right words and having the right physical actions, but a lot of it automatically comes if you actually just believe in your product and that it's good for them. And so that's what I want to do, is I just want to actually try to have a good product. And I know that my actions and the words that I use are going to, like you said, kind of unconsciously come across. And really all my focus should be in just create something that's good, knowing that I can't, like, I'm just a noob, but that's going to be my intent. I think that's going to get me the farthest. And so, it's fun, but
that's awesome, man. I like that a lot. Let me think. Was there something else I want to say on that? No, I think that covers it. Let's move to some Hedron mechanics, Hedron Icosa mechanics of the different staking pools. Which one the most excites you, man? Like, what do you like the most of all the things that you can do with like Icosa and Hedron?
Ooh, okay. So I'll just tell you from my action, I've obviously gone pretty heavy on the Icosa staking pool from the beginning.
Nice.
And so far, I think that was a pretty obvious play to me to do right at the beginning, and I don't regret it. So just who cares what I say? What am I actually doing? Well, my actions show that I care about staking Icosa. but the whole system itself is pretty great. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm really looking forward to what I think some of us are calling the big HSI days on November 13th
Mhm.
to see how that goes. I think it's really important for the hedron inflation to be absorbed, where
Mhm.
hedron, is going to it's going to continue to be created as long as people have hex stakes, which we want to be forever.
Yep.
And we need a way for that inflation to be counteracted. And I think the HSI buyback is being used, and I'm really interested to see how it is used after this big event happens. Is it going to be a continual process? How much inflation is actually burned
Yep.
through that process? So I'm really looking forward to that. And I've been very transparent. I have a relatively large percentage of almost all of it. All of my hedron actually will be liquid on November 13th as I currently have it. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that's the best play for other people, but it is what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And a lot of it is because I don't know what's going to happen there, and I want to be able to act on opportunity. And since I don't know, I'm leaving my options pretty open, and we'll see what happens then. So, like, what am I the most excited about? I don't know. Another way I could say it is, I think for me right now, Hex is my risk reward, the best risk reward play for me. I
Mhm.
think Hedron has more potential reward than Hex,
Mhm.
but I also think it's riskier. So in
Mhm.
my mind, I put Hedron below Hex. Like, my Hex investment is a lot higher than my Hedron investment,
Mhm.
and it feels about right. The ratios that I've bounced them out for me as an individual deciding what risk I want to take.
Yep.
I've allotted things accordingly, and I'm really excited about all of them. I mean, I think it's really fun to watch. The fact that there's so much unknown
Mhm.
combined with so much potential makes for a very exciting game to be playing right now. And
Yeah.
I've said this too. I hope people don't
Mhm.
overcomplicate it. Just, I hope they keep the big picture in mind. And it's really what I'm trying to do. Like, the short term, it's really short. Hedron's new, and Icosa's very new. Hex is relatively new also.
Mhm.
Just what happens in the first couple weeks, it's really hard to know what's going to actually happen over the next couple years. So be careful taking yourself out of that potential.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of trying to play all the games,
Mhm.
and I'm really excited about all of them. So, but yeah, I've clearly put in, I think, a disproportionate amount into the Icosa staking pool, and that's just been fun too.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm in a similar boat. I haven't gone as heavy into the Icosa pool as I would have liked, just due to like my own personal portfolio. But like
yeah,
now I'm slowly DCAing a little bit into Icosa as well, and like starting to beef up that staking pool, especially because I have most of my Hedron stake. I have a nice liquid bag. Me personally, I don't really plan to participate in those HSI options too much.
yeah,
Like I actually value my Hedron more than the hex
yes,
stakes.
yes,
Because of what it took for me to accumulate it and my relative position in the system. You know,
right,
one thing I always would say is like, especially towards the lows, I would compare how much it would cost to be a squid via the T shares and a squid in Hedron. And like the amount of capital you needed to get that same relative position in Hedron is much lower. But we're
right,
really lucky where we have this whole history of Hex, where we see the way in which the T share goes up in conjunction with the price, where that these seemingly easy staker classes that were once accessible to everybody are no longer accessible to a
right,
lot of people. Like I
yes,
cannot accumulate 100 T shares. I don't have enough economic mass to do that currently with like my situation as a student.
yeah,
I did have the opportunity to get a billion Hedron. Like that was absolutely
right,
possible, especially around the lows. And so the
yeah,
way I look at it is just maintaining my relative position for those within the context of like the staker class stuff. I think that does a great job of like allowing us to kind of understand where you're at in the system by like just like labeling it with like an animal. But like my goal is
Yes,
just
I
to
do.
maintain that position over time, you know, and I'm going to
Right.
let other people burn their hedron. And for them,
Right.
that's probably a good deal for them, especially like larger players who can't really, it's hard for them to exit via market selling because they may hurt the price too much, or
Right.
like, you know, the taxable event or what, for whatever reason.
Yep.
This is a good other mechanism for them to cash out of something they may not want, their hedron, into something that they do want, which would be the hex sticks. And so
Right.
I'm going to let that play out. And the cool thing I like about the system is that you'll see as you see value and opportunity accumulate into one place, it then percolates into other parts of the system. So with the example that I'm talking about now, other people are extracting value by burning their hedron and getting HSI stakes, but that value trickles to me by making the hedron that I own more rare, which later on down the line makes it more valuable, because if we get more HSIs on the liquidation market, you can still, that redeemability value maintains.
Right. I completely agree with you. I think that is a potential very valuable play. While
Yep.
everyone else is going after this one side thing, the first big side attraction, probably for hedron,
Yep.
if you don't take that action and everyone else does, then you're going to have you're going to have an advantage.
Yep.
And I mean, the whole system is really set up that way. Doing the opposite of what everyone else does is really, it incentivizes the opposite reaction in so many ways
Exactly.
throughout this whole hedron and ICOSA process. And that's an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, by not staking all of my hedron, I'm not getting that extra ICOSA. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've given up the ability to accumulate more ICOSA for the ability to buy these HSIs, which, like you, I
Mm-hmm.
may not even exercise. And that would mean I'm sacrificing that ICOSA in the meantime for that potential value.
Yep.
And we'll see in the long run, you know, how was it worth that freedom
Mm-hmm.
essentially for me to leave that open. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
I've also accumulated extra hedron for the ability to buy those and still keep my principal, what I naturally had anyway. And so I can take all kinds of varying actions. It just depends on, to me, how obvious the decision
Yeah.
is. Will
Exactly.
will tell me how far on the scale I go in or out on that particular
Absolutely. And
action.
that's one of the big advantages of understanding all the mechanics of the system. And then as like before, when we were doing it, when we were like learning about it and talking about it, it was all theoretical. Like, oh, if money flows here, then we get this
Yes.
opportunity. But then having understood that from a theoretical level, finally we get the opportunity to put it in practice. And then to
Yep.
see like, will this theory that we came up with for the months leading up to it and the months leading up to the auction, how well is it going to play out when the reality hits? But real
Yes.
quick, Crypto Artie, thank you for the $5 super chat, man. I really appreciate the support of the channel. Sloth, you broke it down hedron lovely on your streams. Appreciate it, brother. Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. But yeah, where was I going with that? Oh, well, and another thing about that, like I'm actually not very scared or hesitant to share that strategy that I have for the liquidation auctions, because these HSIs, when they're on there, will demand a certain price via basically a kind of arbitrage, where like I think most people think of it in terms of like what the stake is in terms of like the hex and the hex that's been accumulated for it. But I think that first ceiling where the liquidation auctions will probably always reach to is the price that you can get it if you exchange ICOSA and then sold the ICOSA for it. Like that redeemability value is like the lowest ceiling, the lowest ARB value, because it's immediately liquid. Like you if you get $100 deal, you can immediately cash in on that $100 deal because ICOSA
Right.
is liquid as an ERC20 in a liquidity pool. And so as long as there's opportunity to profit in that manner, it doesn't matter if I participate or not. If everybody says I'm not going to participate, like Sloth said, because people see the discount and then they're going
Yes.
to go and try to get the discount anyway. So it doesn't matter how many people try to do my strategy, because if people don't
Right.
do my
Good
strategy,
thought.
then the opportunity just presents itself and people are just
Yeah.
going to, like, if you can profit $1,000 immediately, you're going to do that. I would
Yes.
do that. Like if I see that
Yeah.
opportunity and it's a guarantee, I'm going to take it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch and see how that all plays out. Like I've already said too, I think it's a win-win.
Yep.
It's a win if the for example, if the hedron price is low, because very likely more hedron is going to be burnt. If the hedron price is low relative to hex,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, if the price is high, well, everyone's going to be happy with a high hedron price.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it'll be, I don't, that's why I purchased it, because I felt like purchasing it, I just saw so little downside. If it's either going to make me a bigger holder of Hedron or a bigger holder of Hex, and either way the play is, I'm happy with either option. So I guess I want more of the system, and I'll go one way or the other. And yeah, but we'll see how it actually plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Well, here's another topic that everybody's really excited about, and actually, it's the pool that has gotten the most excitement, especially when it was open. But the what's a
Yeah.
pool? We're all
Yes.
the sloth address, man. Like that's
Yes.
gonna
Exactly. I love that. You have such an appropriate name.
It worked out real well. Jawar just started saying it. Like I think it was Vince, Crypto Vince. He was the first person to start saying it, and I'm like, yeah, that's what this represents. This is the We're All the Sloth address. That's exactly what it is. I'm hoping to maybe get some sloth NFT art up on some of these things.
There
which
you
would be
go.
pretty sweet. But yeah, tell us your thoughts about What's and kind of like maybe a little bit about like how you've allocated funds to that and what the potential of that.
Yeah, I felt a lot of excitement for the What's a Pool, and so that actually kind of encouraged me to not participate as much in that. And I don't know if that was a good or bad idea. I think 4,000. I don't know. It's on there. I have a number of the NFTs there, and it is my smallest by quite a bit. Like I've gone the heaviest in the Icosa staking pool, and then I put, I think about, I should bring it up, but my I know that my Hedron staking pool versus my Watsa pool is, I think, a multiple of 10 less. I think should bring it up, but yeah, I've gone in light, but that pool is awesome. Just the idea of that is sweet, and the last man standing king of the hill thing is just fun, and it's just a cool game. And the idea of we are all the SA, being the SA and being a part of that is pretty great. I mean, I don't know if people appreciate just where that idea came from and some of the meaning behind it, which I think is fun, and I'm so glad Alex did it. And I'm not planning to sell my NFTs. I mean, the money I put in there is almost, for me, just forget it. I mean, put it in there, and it'll just be a fun number to watch go up over time. I'm not really planning to take out, but I have the option to. I can sell those NFTs. I can destroy them basically and get the Icosa out if for some reason this incredible opportunity arises. I have the optionality, but my mindset is I'm just putting fun money in there, and it's going to be fun, but I just don't know when will I ever take these out. They're only going to be worth more value the longer they're in. And I like that kind of play too. Just I can play long games. Let's just leave this in here and see what happens. And I'll love people tracking how many people are selling their NFTs in the Watsa pool. Everyone's like, yes, someone else sold. We're getting more ownership of that pool as that happens. It's fun.
Yeah, shout out to what's his name, Dev Huey. I'll drop his Twitter in the chat, but he's been posting some really cool charts and stuff about like what's and like breaking down all of that data. So go give him a follow on Twitter if you like all of that breakdown. But like I'm in the same boat, man. Like Watso was also my lowest allocation, not because I didn't like it, but because of my intention for the NFTs, which is like, this is money I'm saying goodbye to, right? This isn't money I want to flip or I want to, try to profit from. I'm essentially buying a collector's item that increases my paper net worth. Like over time, I'm going to be worth more because of it, because every day it's earning yield. But I never actually want to cash in on it because I value the asset that is holding the yield over actually having the yield.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've heard like kind of my long-term vision for this stuff, like these things as essentially just supreme collateral.
No, I don't know if I have. I'm really interested.
Yeah, so just kind of like with hex stakes, where we know every single day that more hex is going to be in them than the day before. With these What's NFTs, we know for 100% fact that the next day it's going to have more Icosa than the previous day. Now, the velocity of that increase is variable due to the Hedron burn, but we know it's a trustless form of interest that's going to accumulate Icosa over time. And we know that yield that you're getting, you'll never be diluted because the pool is closed now. So your percentage of the entire pool can only ever go up, either stay the same or go up. This seems to be the perfect asset to be able to collateralize for loans and to be able to extract some kind of value by using it. And then that's going to essentially be the way that I'm going to be able to get liquidity from it without ever having to sell it. That's
Very
my long-term vision.
I like that. I think you almost have described potentially even another layer on the system, maybe another borrow function or something. Yep. And yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I think, of course, then the way my mind would naturally go is it then becomes the confidence in Hex again, because the ICOSA value is so tied to the ICOSA versus Hex ratio is a relatively tight pair so far. And so then if Hex goes up or down, your ICOSA value is going up and down, and that the confidence ends up coming back to Hex for what is the value of that particular stake. But like you said, unlike Hex, which may be liquid or something, yours is locked, and the amount of Hex it's worth theoretically should only go up in time, at least averaged out, even potentially on a short-term scale. It should average out to be equal to or greater than Hex. But yeah, that's cool.
Big difference. Another big difference between like these NFT stakes, these What's stakes, and like Hex stakes. Like Hex stakes have a definitive end date, where after that date, you may or may not be able to retrieve the same number of T shares that you had previously, especially for 15-year stakes. Like you maxed it out.
Very good point.
Like that actual stake is going to end at some point in time. These NFTs never have to be burned. They can just lock them away, and then they will just continue to accumulate in value over time, which the velocity of that accumulation only increases as people burn it. So these seem to be even better than Hex stakes. You know, even though Hex stakes are great supreme collateral, this has extra properties that make it even better just to lock it away.
I see what you're saying. That is a really good point. I like that a lot. It's a good thought.
And so, and let's add another layer on top of it, because this is actually all coming to me right now that I'm thinking about it. I love when I'm having like new ideas like straight up. It's happened a lot. But so let's just like take let's just project a little bit, like a conservatively bullish future for Hex, and then and we're also going to make the assumption that the Hex ICOSA ratio tracks its movement with the T-share rate, like that isn't broken due to whatever reason, right? So like we have I don't know, what is it? It's like 29 Hex per ICOSA currently, and so if we just assume Hex is going to be $1, and this is going to be, we're not going to take the T-share rate into account. We're going to assume that ratio stays at about 29, right? We'll say Hex is $1 sometime in the future, right? Well, each ICOSA at that point would be $30. And so all of that underlying principle has experienced that price appreciation of Hex over time. And so because no new entrants can enter the pool, you know, this is like encapsulating all of the Hex price appreciation from the time that they were created to later on in the future. And this is especially powerful. We'll say like $1 is acting like what currently like 2 to 3 cents is acting at now, where like the 90% dip goes to $1, which means the 90% dip for ICOSA goes to $30. And so the yield we're accumulating now, maybe not technically, or at least theoretically, already has that future price appreciation of Hex wrapped into it. Does that make sense? I think I went off a little bit on Yeah, I think
I don't know. I fully understood what you just said.
Yeah, I don't think I said that very well. But essentially, what I'm saying is exactly what you were saying. With like, it's tied to the value of Hex, and like as Hex goes up, the yield in that ICOSA stake, if it tracks, also is going up. So then it becomes like exponentially more valuable as you're accumulating more coins, and the dollar value of those coins are also continuing to go up.
Yes, because you're getting that as Hex price goes up, you're not only getting the value of your ICOSA Whatsa in the tie to Hex, which has gone up, so the value itself for what it is today is up, but you're also accumulating more of the pool over time. So you're getting an extra multiple of increase. And that is true. I don't see any problem with that at all.
Yeah, man. AJ, Dan, can you say that again? I don't know if I should. I don't think what I said was coherent. I think I was trying to make a point and I lost myself halfway through. It happens every once in a while.
So I saw a comment that was something like, how much ETH are you saving? how much ETH gas are you setting aside for the HSI auctions? I just want to say I'm thinking through something, and I'm wondering if I want to sacrifice for the sake of the community. I'm not saying I'm going to do this. It's not a promise or something, but I might, and it may be selfish, but I might go in there and just put a bunch of initial bids, use my liquid Hedron to get a ton of them in the system, just to pay that initial fee, which could be seen as benevolence or something on my part, but it could also work to my own advantage. If we overwhelm that pool with so many HSIs, it's going to be really hard for people to track any particular one, and they could go for a better deal at the same time.
Yeah.
I am weighing that strategy, and that question brought that up. So there's a chance that other people are thinking similar to me, and they're just going to pay that initial bid. So then if you saw that the HSI that you wanted, wouldn't at least have to incur that first cost. But yeah, it's hard because it's a bid process, right? So how many bids is each HSI going to have? And you are going to incur an extra cost on these. And I do think people should be calculating that in. The ETH transaction fees are, in a sense, they're a cost of acquisition that if they're just looking at the value of the hex and the value of Hedron for that, they need to also, of course, calculate in how much the ETH transaction fee will be. I think it's a good thing to be thinking about.
Yeah, and this is why these systems will be much more fluid and seamless on Pulse Chain, where you don't have to worry about gas fees. Yeah,
it only makes you appreciate Pulse coming out even more.
Exactly. Well, hey, we got a super chat from KH. I think this is a Swedish krona. I'm not exactly sure, but I appreciate it. Does it concern you that the price of Icosa is basically tied to Hex? That event effectively stunts its pump. I'll let you take this one, and then I'll answer it.
Okay. No, for me personally, it doesn't. I think that's actually a feature almost of it, kind of in the way that we were talking about. Like there's different games you could play with Icosa. If that was the case and you knew that it was going to be tied to Hex, which I would tell you is not a known. It's a likely probability. The incentives are set up so that right now it is barely tied to Hex, but I don't consider it a known that it will always be that way. Yep. But right now we'll just assume that it is. There's games you can play knowing that the Icosa value will be tied to Hex. There would also be games you could play if it was going to appreciate. But I think just like Crypto Sloth was saying, specifically like we were saying with the Watsa pool, because you know that it's going to be tied to Hex, you have some advantages that way. And also just realize, of course, Icosa in itself is the ability to accrue Icosa and Hedron. And that's another, it's an incentive there also. And if the price of Icosa itself is not appealing to you, is the price of Icosa versus the Hedron and Icosa you get back appealing to you? Like you get something besides the token itself when you get Icosa. So for me right now, it doesn't concern me. I understand that question. Like I think that's a good question to be asking. Yeah. I don't see it as a concern, but I think it's really worth recognizing that fact. And Icosa can grow massively in price, but it's probably going to happen when Hex grows massively in price.
Exactly. I have the exact same thoughts. I think it's a feature, not a bug, and a necessary feature, one of that. We want this, at least one coin, not to be like a crazy pumping up and to the right only kind of thing. Because what this coin does is, and this is something I'm going to argue a little bit more in my next stream, but it's essentially designed to absorb some sell pressure. Like it's designed to be an outlet for money, because like you can't just have money circulating in a system and it just bloats and bloats and bloats and bloats, because it will just explode and collapse, right? You need some kind of pressure release valves to exit so that the entire system maintains its health and long-term value. And I think that's what Icosa is. Icosa is a good pressure valve to release from the Hex and Hedron pumping. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks for that super chat, KH. Let's see. We've got a couple questions that I starred. Let's see. Oh, here's one. I just found Icosa. Am I late if I didn't buy the NFT? So you are late if you wanted the NFT. You can buy them on OpenSea. Just be warned, people are selling them for like 2 to 3x, 2 to 5x like the minting price. So like you may have to pay like $50 for what somebody paid $10 for, but you can still get it. But you are not late to Icosa or Hedron. That's still very, very early.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Well, man, we've been going for a solid hour now. I think that's a good place to call it. I know it flew by,
man.
right?
Went fast.
I know.
That's great.
Why don't you just kind of show your stuff, tell all your links. I'll throw your channel in the chat again. The Twitter's in the description. I think I forgot to put your YouTube in the description, so I'll put that in later. But go follow him. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Maxim Broadcast is my YouTube channel. And I also have maximbroadcast.com, where I'm just trying to accumulate resources that I think will be helpful. One thing that people have found interesting there is I've just tracked the Icosa pool, and this is my own returns for the amount of Icosa that I've staked in the Icosa pool staking, and what I've gotten so far. And I've just totaled the numbers, so you can accumulate. You can get an idea of the return on investment basically on the APY for that pool. So yeah, that's my website and my YouTube, and then won'tsettlemedia.com is my Twitter. And yeah, that's really the social media resources that I have. So thanks.
Yep, I dropped all those links in the chat, so everybody go subscribe to him on YouTube, follow him on Twitter. Go bookmark his website. It's pretty great. We didn't even get to that. I wanted to ask you about that, but maybe on the next one. Maybe man. We'll talk about it another time.
Sounds great.
But yeah, go follow all of his stuff. Obviously, you know where to find me, Crypto Sloth. You're on my channel now. Sloth Crypto 3 on Twitter. If you're not following me there. I do offer one-on-one consultation services. So if that's something you're interested in, hit me up on Twitter. We can talk about the specifics. And then also there is a Discord paid group that I'm associated with Silver the Antidote and Access Alive. And so if you want a more granular view on like the on-chain analysis and like how that meshes with the TA, DM me on Twitter and I'll give you all the specific details there. Silver the Antidote on his channel has all of the information, like the specifics. There's a video on there. So if that's something you're interested, hit me up on Twitter. But yeah. All right, Maxim. Well, hey, this has been an awesome stream. I really appreciate it. I hope we can do it again in the future.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. This has been really fun. It was cool getting to know you better too. So
yeah, you too, man. All right, everybody. Peace out.